So Jungle Disk started 10 years ago when Amazon first came out with their computing cloud, hence the name Jungle is the Amazon jungle. I think it's the world's largest jungle. And then the disk portion of the Jungle Disk name comes from it. It took the Amazon cloud and turned it into a hard disk for computers. So it started off designed for technical consumers. That was who was using cloud computing a decade ago, but over the last 10 years, it's grown and evolved into a product designed for businesses of 2 to 250 employees to encrypt their data, store it safely off-site in a backup or online storage solution. So I ended up moving to San Antonio about 15 years ago now, and I kind of fell in love with the city when I got here. It has all the benefits of a big city, and I've lived in many and traveled to many more, but without most of the drawbacks. San Antonio is a friendly city because everyone that shows up here wants to work hard, wants to learn and have a better life, has an opportunity to do that. So we've got just a really great business climate, a great number of universities and educational opportunities for everyone. And this kind of collaborative small town, big city makes San Antonio a place that I'm looking forward to call home for a long time. This is an individually for me, kind of a tricky question. I look to my faith some. For people, we all have flaws, so I look up to certain people on different activities, but everyone has things that we don't do, that you may be a role model for one thing, but you may not be for another. So it's one where you'll see all sorts of people, all walks of life, all doing things that you could look up to and respect, of going from where they're at to somewhere better, or if they're somewhere better already, using some of that benefit to give back to others and to make San Antonio and the world around them better. So this was a phone conversation between Graham Weston and Fred Reichelt. Fred Reichelt's famous for coming up with the Net Promoter Score system, so you can find that all over the internet, lots of information about it. And then Graham Weston's a businessman in San Antonio, one of the founders of Rackspace, and they were having a phone conversation, and out of Fred's mouth came, "Everyone wants to be the valued member of a winning team on an inspiring mission." Roughly that quote. So the way I boil that down is people want to get up in the morning, they want to look themselves in the mirrors, they're getting dressed, doing their hair, putting their tie on if you wear a tie to work, all those sorts of things, and they want to know that they can be successful today, have an opportunity to add value to their company, have an opportunity to make their customers' lives better. And so at Jungle Disk, we empower everybody to do an excellent job for the customer. We've priced the products in a way where, as we help our customers succeed with the product, it creates more value for them, they pay us fairly for it, and all of those things. So everyone can focus and spend their time on making themselves successful, their peers successful, and the customer successful, and that creates a kind of positive, happy environment to work in. Be curious and practice being curious. So things change all the time. If you subscribe to like the US CERT, US-CERT, they put out a weekly list of all the new things that are flaws that are discovered in software and all the new things that are happening out there. And there's hundreds of new things every week. So you have to enjoy learning, you have to enjoy being curious, you have to practice and study seeing patterns. Because there's the different types of things will fall into different buckets, and if you can learn to apply those patterns to solve new problems, then you will be successful in the cybersecurity world. Because it's a strategy puzzle game, effectively, and it's you have people that are trying to do bad things that have low ethics or no ethics, and you have other folks that are trying to stop those people from being able to take advantage of others. I don't know, with the hardest challenge, I think, is putting together the right team. Once you've done that, leading them's easy. So I've been pretty blessed at Jungle Disk to have an amazing organization around me that my business partner and I have been able to build up, and those leaders that we've added in have been able to recruit over the years. San Antonio is the second largest number of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. outside of the Washington, D.C. metro area. I think we can continue to grow on that, and if you add the U.S. Army's adding a bunch of cyber now up in Austin, if you look at Austin and San Antonio as a central Texas region together, I think we have a chance to be the world's leading area for cybersecurity over the next 20 or 30 years as this continues to evolve. So we can be the quote Silicon Valley for cybersecurity. You've got all of the consumer tech startups out there in the Bay Area, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Twitters. I think there's an opportunity for San Antonio to have all the cybersecurity companies and a big number of them over the next 20 years. I mean, this is a tricky one a little bit. The number one thing I would recommend is be real thoughtful about what Wi-Fi network you're using. There's a lot of bad people that are out there. There's devices on the internet. You can buy them. They're not that expensive. Like called a pineapple router that lets you do all sorts of bad things if you didn't have any ethics, and if you could go sit at a coffee shop and using a battery in your backpack run a rogue Wi-Fi hotspot and steal all sorts of information from everybody there. So be real thoughtful and careful about the Wi-Fi networks you're using when you're out and about. San Antonio has had a good tradition of running large-scale high school internship programs before, and many of the large companies around here, Holt Cat as an example, has 150 or so, I think, high school interns this summer. So working with Councilwoman Villagran and SA Works and SAISD, we were able to get this set up to allow smaller companies like Jungle Disc, where we have 30 employees, to be able to take on a large class of high school interns and set it up in a manner that's going to be successful. So this is a new pilot program this summer, and hopefully going into next summer, other companies that are not as big and well established as Holt Cat or HEB or USA or some of the others with big high school internship programs can also create internship opportunities for these high school students. And this really needs to start happening because as kids now are getting into high school, they're needing to pick career pathways in high school in Texas. It's now required, and those pathways are setting them down different trajectories. So we need to expose kids in high school to what's going on in the economy around them, and then hopefully they tell their younger brothers and sisters that are in middle school. We can't really do middle school internships, but that message needs to get passed down through the kids to other kids, and to raise awareness of what options and opportunities are out there in the city that they're living in. So there's a couple of examples I'll use on this, and I think this is the way that cities get transformed. Is people start businesses, those businesses generate equity wealth, and then that equity wealth is used to be reinvested back into the city. So you have an example with Kit Goldsberry and Pace Pecani sauce, and Kit has used some of the money from the sale of Pace Pecani sauce to be able to build the Pearl, to be able to do a number of development projects that are really reinvesting and changing the way that San Antonio is viewed, bringing the Culinary Institute of America here. And then now you have Graham Weston is another example, was a founder of Rackspace, created equity wealth through Rackspace, and now he's investing all over the west side of downtown San Antonio, funding organizations like Geekdom to create the tech district we have downtown, leading a lot of transformation there. There's many others where there are examples of folks that have had success in business and they're reinvesting those dollars back into San Antonio. There's a long list and tradition of that here. Those are two kind of more recent examples doing visible real estate things, but we've had a really long history in San Antonio. San Antonio owned businesses. HEB is another example, looking at all the things they do in the community. You have La Familia Cortez owning their restaurant group and what they've been able to do over the last 75 years. And it just goes on and on and on. You see, we don't have many national chains in San Antonio. If you look at the number of Taco Cabanas versus the number of Taco Bells, and You Bill Miller versus Kentucky Fried Chicken. And you can keep going down the list. And all of these businesses that are owned in San Antonio by San Antonians have done great things to help make the city a better place.